Hey, so if you've seen my channel, you probably know I make a lot of course reviews. The reason I do that is because I'm building a portfolio, but there are still a lot of courses that I've taken I haven't made videos for it yet. So in this video, I'm going to summarize every course I've done so far, including the ones I haven't made videos for yet. Still, I'll try to keep everything moving fast since this is all going into one video. First course I ever covered while recording these for my portfolio was a 2D platformer course in Unreal Engine taught by Chris Wilson. Now, the course itself was pretty straightforward. It focused on teaching you how to build a simple 2D game in Unreal Engine, but for some reason I decided to make it Undertale themed. That wasn't in the course, I just thought it'd be fun. So what I ended up doing was setting up a kind of Undertale remake in Unreal, but only the very beginning, just the player character and the starting area map. No Flappy or anything like that. The course taught me a lot of stuff I didn't know before, like how to create a tile set, build a level using that tile set, and even introduced me to some of the special 2D objects Unreal Engine has, which I didn't even know existed at the time. Honestly, pretty cool first step into Unreal's 2D functionality. Next up was the Game Designer course taught by Tim Van Can. So basically this course is all about adding more gameplay mechanics, things like changing the character, adding a run ability, and in my case also added crouching, because why not? We also built a health system, added some UI, and then came the part where Tim apparently became obsessed with doors. There was a lot of doors. There was a door that opens when you walk up to it, a door that opens when you press a button, a door that opens when you press a key, and then a bullet that explodes. That's not a door. But hey, it did make a great thumbnail for that video. Alright, next up is the Stylized render course taught by Chris Kaufman, and this one was really cool. I learned how to make Unreal Engine games that look stylized, and I could play around with stuff for hours, and I did. I even ended up making a bunch of styles that weren't even part of the course, just experimenting. The whole course revolves around two things: post-process volumes and post-process materials. Combine the two and instantly you're a VFX wizard. You can do stuff like remove all shading, scene depth, white crystal looking filter, outlines, this one effect that kinda looks like a pencil drawing but inverted, whatever this is, cartoon effect, rainbow lines, super bright rainbow lines, an actual pencil effect, make it so that the effects only show up on characters, struggle to make the pencil effects only affect the characters. This other thing, comic book, demon, colorblindness simulation, this, posterize, somehow made a ghost effect just by mixing a few filters together, purple. This is honestly one of my most favorite courses I've taken so far, just because of how much you can mess around and accidentally make something awesome. Next was the Detective's Office game environment course taught by Justin Mulham. Now, for some reason, this course expects you to be a master at 3D modeling and texturing, even though it's aimed at game designers. So, like everyone else probably, I just used Justin's assets. Pretty sure that's what you're actually supposed to do anyway, since the focus here is more on lighting and object placement. Also, is it just me, or does this office feel way too perfect for a FNAF 4 style horror game? Anyways, I cooked with the level design on this one. Added a ton of little details, even forcing objects to do things they weren't meant to. Like, for example, this pill jar right here has the 3D model of two pill jars. One of them is sideways and spilt all over the place. But I just got it to have one by burying the other pill in the TV. I also spent a lot of time on the bookshelf and desk and these boxes full of paper, really trying to make everything feel lived in. Oh, and I even added a log in the fireplace. Why? because the fireplace is just sitting there and with nothing in it. Why would that be like that? Also, I had to go to find a random YouTube tutorial for setting up fog, because Unreal Engine just changed how fog works between my version and his version. But yeah, despite all that, this course turned out really good, and I ended up with something that honestly looks pretty cool. Next is exploring level design for game development, taught by Patrick Haslow. This one's pretty simple. The whole course is basically just about setting up a bunch of walls, laying out some floors, and then creating a basic map. It's all about learning the fundamentals of level design, how to block things out. Also, there's some cool developer materials you can use. It's a very simple course, but very useful. Next is the Gamemaker Complete Platformer tutorial by Sarah Spalding. This one is actually on YouTube, and same with the rest of them. I used this course to make my first actual game in Gamemaker. It's called Hand-Drawn Catastrophe. Still in beta, maybe more of an alpha actually, and hasn't been updated since I've uploaded it. But yeah, it exists. The course itself is a full breakdown on how to build a 2D platformer from scratch, and it teaches you a lot about how Gamemaker works. I even went beyond the course a bit. I had my own stuff, made some tweaks, and added the extra line of code in the description of the video that I made about it. This course really helped me get content with Gamemaker. Like, a lot of what I know about it now came from this one tutorial. Next up, I tackled 2 courses by Peyton Burnham, how to make an RPG in Gamemaker and the branching dialogue system. These 2 courses teach you how to make a mostly fully functioning RPG with no battle system or anything like that, but you do get to make puzzles like ice block puzzles and person on ice puzzles, and an item system and a music system, which I actually learned about in the previous course because I want to have music that changes. So I basically just learned one of this course's videos early, and then in the branching dialogue system course you learn how to make conversations between you and the NPCs in your game. Alright, so that's a recap of the courses I've already covered. Now let's talk about the ones I haven't made videos about yet. Alright, so here we got the C Key Fast Track Blender Beginner course. The first project was making a Minecraft Falling style Coliseum, and I made a lot of versions of that. Then I moved on to making a sword and even create this cool animation where Stewie box and this guy fight. Along the way I learned some neat stuff like how to simulate lightning effects, which was pretty cool. Also, this was the first time I actually used the reference for animation. Next is Blender Basics by CE Cookie. It's basically this course that teaches you the basics of Blender and everything about Blender, how to model and stuff, and all the modifiers. It's really made for people who are just starting out with Blender, to just teach them how everything works and such. During the course I took on a challenge to make a character just out of boxes. Pretty sure that was just a joke that he said, but that led to me creating Boxman. After that, the course taught me how to work with materials and lighting, and even introduced me to 2D animation, which was pretty cool. This is just to teach you the basics of Blender, so I can't really say that much about it other than it's great for beginners. At least I think it is. Then there's the 3D animation tutorial by Crashsune Academy. This one was really cool because it taught me how to add modifiers to my animations. That led to me making a short where it actually modifies the frames per second of each character using modifiers, which was super fun. I also made an animation where Stewie box throws mesh modifiers, not animation modifiers, they're completely different, like ninja stars. This course stood out to me because I actually learned something super useful, the animation modifiers. Then there's the famous donut course by the Blender Guru. This is the Blender tutorial for beginners. Honestly, it's the absolute best. I'd recommend it to anyone starting out. I actually used this course before I even started my recording with the other courses, back whenever I was first starting. Basically, it teaches you how to make photorealistic donut with a coffee cup. For my version, I added a Keep donut, a Starbucks coffee cup, or something like that, and even a moldy donut. If you want to learn Blender from scratch, this is the one to go for. It teaches you so much. Next up is the Flappy Bird Godot tutorial by Pickled Cockroach. Now I did a lot of things differently from the instructor in this one. For starters, I made the spacing in between the pipes adjustable through code. I also cleaned up a bunch of the systems, like instead of dumping everything into the main script, I broke it up into proper functions. And yes, I actually did finish the course. Why am I saying it like it's a big deal? Well, it's because the guy doing the course doesn't. The recording just ends while he's setting up the high score system. No outro, no explanation, it just stops. Also, the version of Godot he's using is very different from the one I'm using. From the objects names to how certain pieces of code behave, everything's different. So it was a bit of a challenge to translate that into my current version. That said, it's still a good course for beginners. Just maybe don't let it cut off mid-sentence this time. This was probably in the earlier days of him making courses, so I wouldn't hold it against him. Personally, I'd just condense things into functions and clean it up a bit. Next up is the hack and slash tutorial by Heartbeast for Gamemaker, and it's honestly my favorite game making course so far. This one has a lot going on. You actually build a game Heartbeast made for a game jam. There's way more content in here than the others. First off, you play as a skeleton, which confused both me and Benjamin, the instructor, when trying to find the player object. See, there's also a knight who's the enemy, but naturally you think the knight is the player and the skeleton is the enemy because, well, that's how it normally works. The course starts out by teaching you how to make a movable player with a free hit combo and a hit roll. I added some tweaks, like when you attack you lunge forward a bit and the attacks move faster if you're already walking. Also, rolling covers less distance if you're standing still before you rolled. Then you learn how to make the knight enemy who walks up to you and attacks you. Next are the crows. They die in one hit, and once they try to hit you, they fly away. I made it so when a crow flies off, they come back faster each time, but it caps a really high speed. The course also teaches you how to make experience points to level up. I made it so that attacking a knight from behind or while the mid-swing gives extra XP. Finally, you get to create a boss. Originally, I wanted him to summon minions that give no XP, but instead I gave him the ability to block attacks from the front and him being able to be knocked back a lot by attack if you do manage to hit him, so he won't be comboed a bunch. Another thing he can do is while he's drawing the sword back, if you're in the way of the sword, you get hurt again. I also cleaned up some animations too because some looked a bit off, and I also smoothed them out a bit. This did mean rewriting some code though, because some of it relies on frames of the animation. Oh, and if you want the sprites, you can download them from the description, not the comments, alright? Not the comments, okay? Not the comments. Also, I changed the characters from a weird grey to black. If you prefer grey, just use this tool right here, set the color to dark grey, and replace all the black colors with it. Next up is the Blender Introduction Series for Beginners by Crashsune Studio. First, you learn how to make a super simple building and then turn that into a simple city, which I used to make this. Then you go on a modeling spree, learning how to make a ton of different objects, and I do mean a lot. And you make even more objects with modifiers, and then you learn how to make materials and stuff. I even made a hand-drawn catastrophe-themed nest, and honestly I think it turned out pretty cool. Then there's slicing, and then you learn how to make a plane, which I used for a short little animation. Ah! Did you just smack me? You don't even have hands. How do you do that? Ow! Hey! Stop that. Ow! Hey, I didn't even do anything. Ah! Yeah! I do a barrel roll! What? Overall, this was a really solid tutorial series, and I actually learned some useful stuff, like how to make glass that actually looks like glass in Eevee. So, that's every course I've recorded myself doing, both the ones I've made videos for and the ones I haven't until now. I think they're all great in their own way. Sure, some could use a few improvements here and there, but overall, they've all taught me something valuable, and I've had a lot of fun going through them. Hopefully this gave you a good overview and maybe even helped you decide which ones you want to check out yourself.